How was
Thanks,
the?
Wilbert.
Did you do a run early this morning before the sun was up?
No, no, no.
Ah,
No,
goodness.
today I was preparing for this morning.
People always
So,
ask on the days that you don't, right?
yeah,
Yes, well,
yeah,
that's what happens. Okay, we are talking about exercise today, by the way.
yes,
Mm.
yeah. So I was just going to give a bit of a recap and just set the foundation there. So from a spiritual point of view, we definitely need to start off believing that all things are possible to God, and that regards your health and your wellness. And then you need to start by loving yourself where you are at now while on the way to achieving the goals that you want to. And we recommend that you have a quiet time, a daily quiet time, in order to build that relationship and that spiritual foundation that's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've, of course, talked about this so many different times, but the integration between the spiritual belief, that's what you've sort of alluded to now, this hope, this belief that God has made us for more. As Christians, we should have far more ambition. I've been thinking about this word ambition over the last while. We should have far more ambition to achieve, to see the impossible happen, to see things move and shift, and value and character to be formed amongst us. As Christians, more than the world, we should have an ambition for that, because our expectations should be so much higher, because we don't hope there's purpose to this world. We know
Exactly.
there's purpose to this
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need to view our body as a machine that's been uh, incredibly made for us to live our life here on earth. And if we understand how it works, then we understand how to get the best out of it. Then we can meet our goals and objectives that we should be setting for ourselves.
Yeah. And exercise, of course, comes into play here, because this machine, like most things in life, deteriorates if you leave it. You know,
Yeah.
the grass deteriorates if you leave it. The garden deteriorates. The pool deteriorates.
Yeah.
Everything deteriorates if you simply leave it. And so the same for our bodies.
Yeah, so on the nutrition side, just to touch on that quickly first, again, there we're talking about what you eat, when you eat, and how much you eat, and the importance of having adequate protein in your diet and cutting out the refined carbs and sugars as much as possible, increasing your vegetables and whole foods that you eat, and then trying to avoid and decrease the vegetable and seed oils, which are largely inflammatory. So that sort of lays the foundation on the two disciplines that we're not touching on in detail today. And then the basic foundations around exercise is the necessary to increase your strength through resistance training, and to increase your fitness through cardio based exercises, and just doing more is better.
Yeah, it's good to walk away this morning with some basics. So number one, spiritually, things like a devoted quiet time, making sure that you shift your mind, your focus. What do you start your day out with? These are just practical things that you can do to lay a good foundation spiritually. Nutrition wise, a little bit more protein, as Alec mentioned, less refined carbs and sugar, avoiding, some of those quick meal takeaways, all the refined stuff, heavy preservatives, and then also avoiding vegetable and seed oils, more vegetables, natural foods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stick with olive oil where possible.
yeah, there's some basic things that we can do. Okay, you've mentioned the foundation of exercise. Broken down into two things. Well, one, increase your strength, the importance of resistance training. We'll talk in detail about that now,
Yeah,
because a lot of people, I think, vastly underestimates the value of resistance training, especially people that want to lose weight. Uh, People don't see the correlation, but there's a big correlation. And then increase your fitness, of course, with cardio. So let's get into this. Maybe let's start with this, Alec.
yeah,
This idea that, because I like the way that you framed it in today's note. The second thing is to increase your fitness. It's not to lose weight, because you might be surprised the first one, which is resistance training, might help you even more with losing weight than the second one. But
yes.
we normally swap those two around, don't we?
Yeah. So, you're correct. And I think the point that we're wanting to make there is that there's the foundational pillars for exercise and for training is first we should be training to improve our health, then our training to improve our stability and mobility, and then followed by strength. And only then do we focus on performance improvement and finally physique. So a lot of youngsters start out, and sport specific training is based on performance and physique, and we neglect training for health improvement and for our mobility and stability. And we'll give some examples of that in a moment. And the importance of strength training, because that your strength influences your muscle mass. The two, to a certain extent, go hand in hand, and your muscle mass has a direct impact on your immune system and on sarcopenia, which is that natural progression of losing muscle mass as we age. And it can become really serious, especially in the sort of 60 plus, 70 plus year old, where if you fall, it becomes can become a dead, a life-changing event.
Yes, and again here, and generalizing, most young men value exercising with strength and strength training because of maybe the aesthetic reasons or whatever it might be. But the categories that really need it, which is number one, the elderly, like you've just mentioned, and then also generally women as
Yes.
well. Not as much, but really the benefit for both of those groupings, the importance of having resistance, let's call it resistance training maybe instead of strength, having resistance training is vitally important.
Yeah, so I think I just want to go back a step and just give you some insights that I've been gleaning from listening and looking into and studying on the subject. But in particular, there's a medical doctor in the States by the name of Peter Attia. You spell that Attia. And he's a really interesting guy because he's not only is he a medical surgeon and he's cancer background, but he's also got a mechanical engineering degree and a degree in applied mathematics. So there's not many people that have got that kind of credential, and he is really focused on longevity and on health span, and he's done a lot of studies in this area. And his take is exercise is the single most important longevity drug, bar none. And another one of his saying is, if you want to be fit and healthy and strong at 85, you can't be average at 50. So, if we go back to a biblical reference and we look at Caleb, who at 40 was tasked to go into the promised land and to go and spy and see what was going on. We can see in Joshua 14 verse 10 and 11, he says there, "Yet I am as strong today as I was the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, so it is now, for war to go out and to come in." And at that stage he was 85. So there's no reason that we should degenerate at the rate that we are. Our current lifestyles are largely as the cause of that, and we don't appreciate and put the effort in that's needed to actually maintain our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I'm unfortunately now starting to find out, because I'm generally still young, but starting to find out that you can't fight the natural, let's call it decline, that the human body goes through. You have to work against it. And this is a very good point, like you've mentioned. I really like this quote. You can't expect to be good at 85 if you were already at an average level at 50. And most people by age 50, unfortunately, we've just got to be honest with one another, by 50, they've lost control completely, So they were fit at 30. They, were young. They probably, if they're 50 now, they went through the army, so they had some, six packs because of that, etc. But by 50, it's just, they've lost control. Yet still having that hope that at 85, they'll be able to move around and hopefully still do something with their grandkids or whatever. But that expectation won't meet reality because there's a natural decline unless you're going to start actively pushing against it.
Yeah, and just to illustrate how important that is, they took a group of 65-year-olds, men and women, and they put them through an intensive training program over a 6-month period, and they got them on average to gain 1.5 kilos of lean muscle mass. They took another group, or I'm not sure if it was the same or a different group, also 65-year-olds, and within 10 days of being of bed rest, they've lost the 1.5 kilograms that they gained. So it only takes you 10 days to lose what it takes 6 months of really hard effort to gain. So the whole hammering on being consistent and looking after your health so that you don't end up being ill and you don't end up with injuries. As you age, that becomes more and more important, because the moment that you are inactive and bedridden or ill, you go backwards at a ridiculously fast rate.
The glass half full view there is that, well, though, that at 65 they were still able to gain some muscle mass, which tells most people that's listening in right now that it's not too late, because I think a lot of people are also not starting because they just feel like, I'm over the hill.
No, well, I mentioned prior in a previous chat that we were having about a study that was done over a 3-month period with 3 30-minute strength sessions a week on a group of 85-year-olds, and how beneficial that was. They gained 50% of their muscle mass that they had, and they improved their strength by 45%. So, it's never too late to actually get the benefits of exercise and training. But the really interesting sort of take home for me is that, we look at things like smoking and lifestyle diseases like diabetes, etc., and they have a factor of 3 at shortening or having an adverse effect on your life expectancy. And then when you look at your VO2 max, which is a measure of your cardiovascular fitness, if you are in the above average category or in the excellent category, it has a factor of 5 as an improvement on your life expectancy and on your longevity. And strength training has a factor of 3 improvement. So between your strength and your cardiovascular fitness, it has a huge impact on your health and on the quality of your life as you age.
Yeah, removing from a lot of criticism that I guess is valid for our medical aid industry in South Africa, one thing that we are leading in the world in is this viewpoint of rewarding members for exercise, healthy eating, etc., with the viewpoint that you're actually reducing medical costs. And for most people, this is something they need to think about, I think, when it comes to exercise, is that, most people don't have a personal trainer because it's just too expensive, or they're not joining, they're not getting help in terms of exercise because it feels like an unnecessary cost. But it could potentially, and most probably will be, a massive money-saving exercise to invest in exercise training, making sure that you remain disciplined in it, because in the long run, you'll definitely save, most probably save on medical costs.
Yeah, and if you look at what those costs are, they are really astronomical. So if you're wanting to go into a care facility when you are old, specifically around frail care, etc., you're in for anything between 15 and 30,000 rand a month as a cost. So, that's something that you definitely want to avoid for as long as you possibly can. So with exercise, the advice from my side is there's so many people out there that are willing and able to assist you, is to go and get help. You need a personalized training plan that starts from the basis of doing an assessment of where you're at a given point in time now, and then also takes your goals and objectives into account, and has that incremental progress that we've been talking about, which helps to make things sustainable. And then it really does need to focus on strength and on cardio. And I did some numbers this morning in preparation. There's 168 hours in a week, and we are saying that you need to do 3 half-an-hour cardio sessions and 3 half-an-hour strength sessions. So that's only 1% of the available time in a week that we're saying is a minimum that's required to have a marked impact on your health and wellness going forward.
For somebody that's spends a lot of time training people in exercise, let's just throw around some practical exercises, things that people might start out with, or that they could do. And you've mentioned that first you want to exercise for health, then stability, mobility, then strength, then performance improvement, and then finally for physique. We normally, when we want to get ready, we buy a magazine that tells us get a six-pack in 21 days. So you immediately go for physique, and then we know that doesn't work out. It's not sustainable. What are some of the practical exercises that people can get into, and what would be the benefit of those?
Well, if we're looking and we're talking specifically about measures to see where you're at as you age, we're looking at, you should be able to hang or with your off your arms as a man for 2 minutes. That's not doing pull-ups, it's just hanging off a bar, and for ladies 1.5 minutes. And that's a fairly good indication of your grip strength, which is a good measure of your muscle mass and strength in general. But most people will fail that for sure. So that's what we should be working towards. Then another simple test is to stand on a stair that's approximately 40 centimeters off the ground and see how long you can take to get your 1 foot down onto the ground. So step off a box onto the ground, and you should be able to take longer than 3 seconds to actually get down, and that's a measure of your strength and stability there. And then you should also be able to do step ups on a 40 odd centimeter step, holding 50% of your body weight, and you should be able to walk carrying up to 75% of your body weight.
I'd have to find big bags for me to test that. So I don't know where I'm going to get the weights to test that, but yeah.
Yeah. So and then we were talking about, you were asking about different types of exercises, but so if we, depending on what you're trying to achieve, but the intensity also plays a huge role. So if you are training and you wanting to have a positive impact on your growth hormone and on the testosterone, then you're looking at doing sort of the 6-set range with 10 reps with minimum rest in between. So your rest period should be 2 minutes or less between the sets, and you should force yourself to be able to do 10 reps. So even if you have to reduce the weight as you go, as you progress, you want to be doing that. And by increasing that intensity, you're trying to kickstart your body's production of growth hormones and testosterone. So even ladies, your adrenal glands produce testosterone. So you don't necessarily need testes, to do that. And then another great exercise for on the cardio side is at least once a week doing maximal sustained efforts of 4 minutes on either a rowing machine or an air bike, and basically looking at doing 4 minutes of high intensity, then a 4-minute break, and then repeating that 5 times. So it's only a 20 minutes work effort, but it's really hard. And the point is that, if you want to improve your VO2 max, if you're wanting to improve your cardiovascular fitness, which is the biggest influence on your general health, it takes discomfort and it takes effort to do that. And we tend to, by default, shy away from that. So, yeah, you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Maybe in conclusion, Alec, these days, of course, with the coronavirus and all of these things happening in our world, immunity is important, and your immune system. And there's an incredible correlation between exercise and getting that immune system up as well.
Yeah, so we're talking specifically about muscle mass and the role that plays in the immune system. So people are largely unaware that your immune system is detrimentally impacted by a loss of muscle mass. So basically, the more muscle mass you've got and the stronger you are, the stronger your immune system is, and your ability to withstand viruses and to be in a stronger, healthier position to fight them when you do get them.
Okay, practically, in conclusion, Almighty Warriors, by the way, we've got resources available there. You've got the show notes available there. But you guys also, of course, offer assistance in terms of people that say we want to exercise or start to exercise or figure this out.
Yes, so we definitely do. So, Greg and Nicolene are respectively qualified sports scientists and physiotherapists. But they're not the only resource. They are more than capable of doing personalized training programs and helping you achieve your specific goals. But there are plenty of people at gyms all around the country that are willing and able to assist you. I think the point is that they need to do an accurate assessment, and then they need to help you meet your goals that are specific to you, and to work out a personalized plan to help you get there slowly but surely. It must be sustainable, and you've got to be able to be consistent. So you're better off reducing the intensity, which tends to hurt people and scare them and keep them away from training, and be consistent at a lower intensity than to try and get fit and strong in one workout, which we all know is impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, go to almightywarriors.me. That's the website for more information, not just on this conversation, but a whole load of discussions that we've already had up until this point. Alec, always great having you in. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks, Willbert.